Okay, so we've got the sill now with its slots in, we've got the riv nuts installed under the car. We now need to start putting some bracketry on the car. So before we start that, remember to check that you've got all the little inserts, okay? So we did have one that fell out at the start of the video, and they basically just slot in there, okay, and make sure they're all in place, okay, like so. Right, now, these metal brackets here that we're going to put on next, they're all fundamentally the same. But what we've got to do is make sure we get the right ones in the right place. So what I've done is mark them up. Now, this one here is the front, so we're currently working on the right hand side of the vehicle, which in the UK is the driver's side, and this is the front bracket. And I've highlighted here with the orange pen the bolt hole that's used to bolt that one on. So that one goes on. That's the front. This one goes on the middle by the pillar, and that bolts on, not on the central hole, but the one, excuse me, just to the rear of the centre hole. And then this is the rear bracket, and that mounts using 2 bolts. Okay, so it uses both of these holes here. So we'll start doing that now. Okay. Now this uses the M8 bolts. Now we've got 2 M8 bolts. We've got these standard bolts here, and these ones with the larger head and the little sort of shank just below the head. Now it's these standard ones we're using. So the holes are already in the car from Land Rover. So if I pass the camera over to you, Kate, if you grab that. Now, right then. So we take our sill with the holes, okay? And what we'll do is we'll start with the front bracket. Now the brackets, what you've got to do is put the bracket up through the hole with the bracket pointing outwards, away from the centre of the car. Okay, let me grab a bolt and a washer. Okay. Right. Okay, let's have a look at this. Let's get this lined up ready. So if I open the car door fully, and we just pull that one back. Okay, so what we can do is, right, now you don't have to worry about the sill for the moment, okay, but get that bolt in. Let me swap my hands over here. Okay, so get that there. So it should just spin straight in. Okay. Now we'll get the 3 brackets on, then we'll tighten them up. So just spin them in hand tight. That's the first one. Okay. So the middle one. So to find the bolt hole for the middle, it's just straight down from the pillar, straight down here, and we're bolting this one on with the hole just to the rear of the centre. Now you gotta pass it up through the slot first. Okay, like so. Oh, wrong hole. There you go, in through it. And this is actually the trickiest bit of the process, I think, where you're most likely to make a mistake is by bolting the bracket in with the wrong hole. Okay, and then we've got the rear bracket which needs 2 bolts to fix it in. Okay. Again, thread, feed it up through the slot. Okay, up here. And then you see we've got these 2 bolt holes here, captive nuts, already kindly provided by Land Rover for this very purpose. It's a little strange why they didn't put captive nuts on the bottom ones, but there we have it. Right, so when you've got all of them on, okay, you can then tighten up the... So we've got a 13mm socket here, okay. Just tighten these up now. This rear one's okay because it can't move much because you've got the two bolts in it. Okay. Okay, so that's the middle one done. Sorry, the back one done. Then, and you got to obviously make sure it can move, but make sure it's it square to the vehicle. Okay, and then the one at the front. Okay, so don't worry too much about the seal, it is just hanging there for the minute, but okay. So when we've got those 4 bolts, that's 4 bolts tightening those 3 brackets, then we need to feed in the seal, the cover, okay? So at the front here, we've got this front tongue that I'm wibbling here, needs to dock into this little arch here, okay? So this little tongue needs to go into the mouth. So, and the other thing to note is there's this little spike here. If I put my hands behind it, you can hopefully see it on the camera. That spike there needs to go into this slot. Can you see that there, just below my finger? Yeah. So it's a bit of a pickle because you've got to like feed it in, okay? And then you've got to get that into the slot, okay? And then that step so forward, okay? And then what we've got to do, if you just look here, Kate, we can. So these little docking station bits there should, when we've got it right, line up with the nipples, and then we can just force it on then, okay? So just make sure they're lined up roughly, and then we can offer that up, okay? And then we can, it's just a question of pushing those on. Oh, we haven't got those. Some of them you may just have to adjust. They should be okay. There we go. Right, then we'll do the rear ones. Okay. Again, it should all line up with the rear. Here, get that into position. Okay, and that's clipped on. So now if I just show you where we're at now, we've now got the 3 brackets hanging out the car. And one thing to note here, if I put my hand behind, you can see we've got the square section. So the outriggers on the side step are going to sit in here and pass through there. And what we've got next is we've got the rear brackets. We've got the rear brackets to fit on. Okay, now we need to get these little brackets here on. Now I've done this superb drawing of a car here, you can see. So this is the front of the car. So on the right side of the car, you've got at the front bracket 1, 2, 3. And again, these are numbered. Now, if you've got some dodgy kit that's not numbered, I'll try and help you identify them. So basically, if you look from this angle, you'll notice that bracket number 1 is longer, and obviously number 4 will be the same. And then the 2 shorter brackets, the rearmost bracket has got the central hole, and the middle bracket's got the hole towards the front. And that follows through, they're symmetrical on the other side. So there you can see in the row there from left to right, brackets 4, 5 and 6. Okay, so we'll go through how to fit those on. Okay, so these brackets bolt on using the small M6 bolts, and these are going to go into the riv nuts that we fitted earlier. Okay, so if we grab one of the M6 washers and the M6 bolts, okay, and then we're going to start with bracket number 3, okay, and that's going to basically, we're going to bolt that up like so into the bracket. Right, so if we want to grab a look under the car, you got the torch there, Kate? Right then, excellent. Okay, so if you pass that to me, see if I can do this with one hand. So, okay, so here we are under the car, and here's the bracket we've just fitted at the front, and there's the riv nut. Hopefully you can see that there. What I'm going to try and do with one hand is spin that up, okay, and bolt the inner bracket up into the inner seal there. Hold on, let me just... okay, like so. So what you can see there is, so basically you can see now we've got the hole here in this front bracket, and the outrigger of the bar is going to go in, and then it's going to dock into that, and then it's got those, it's got a nice little docking station, and it's got these 2 rails here going through that it's going to sort of cantilever against. So we'll put those on. Okay, so again you can see that. I'll put those 3 brackets on and then we'll come back. So they're a 10mm socket, you need to tighten those. So I'll fit and tighten all 3 of those and come back and join you. Okay, so we've got everything set up now. So we've got the step. Now the step is ended. You've got a nice gentle curve on this front edge and you've got more of a pronounced bend in the rear edge. So make sure you get it the right way or it'll look a bit odd. Also it won't line up. You can see that the gap between these 2 is much closer and the gap between these 2 is much further apart. So you can't actually get it on incorrectly anyway. So what you now need to do is offer it up, and what the square outrigger should pass through the black bracket and then go into the grey bracket behind, okay? So if you get this lined up now, okay, we did, let me just explain here, we've obviously trial fit this to get this as best we can. Now when we first tried it, a couple of brackets were a little bit out, so what we did have to do was you can just tap it backwards and forwards a little bit, will give you some movement in those, okay? So that's how we got the first initial alignment done. Okay, so let's, okay, so now, and it really is a 2-person job getting this lined up, okay? Okay, right, and so that then pushes in. Now what you'll then find, if I grab the camera, is you'll get it through the first bit, but a couple of the little brackets at the back, it might be a bit stiff going into them. And what you need to do, what you mustn't do under any circumstances, is hit this front edge, because you will dent the aluminium strip. So what you need to do is push, or get a colleague to push on the front, okay? And then if you get any problems at all, you can just tap on the rear of the brackets at the back. So if you want to push on the front, Kate, okay, and then if you just give it a slight tap at the back, and what you're looking for is, if you look under here, you've got this riv nut here in the bottom of the outrigger, sorry, you're waiting for that to line up with the hole here in this first bracket. So you can see there it's starting to go forward, okay, and then if we just push and hammer on the back, and there you can see the hole just coming into view, okay? And you may have to work a couple of the brackets. You can see that middle bracket there is pushing back. So if I just push that, you can see that going in there, and then you can see now we're lined up. So we're now going to grab one of the M8 bolts, okay? So it's these, is it these bigger bolts, Kate? Yeah. So you grab these bigger bolts now. So these are the ones where you've got this step in them, okay? And we're going to fit those up into the underside, okay? Okay, so there's the bigger type bolt, okay? And then if we spin that in under there, we should better get that. And that's the one with the big socket, isn't it? Okay, so they are a 19mm. Okay, so we've got there a 19mm socket. Okay, and then tighten that up. Now we've put the other bolts in already. Okay. Now you will find there's a bit of jiggling about to get these brackets to line up, but because the brackets are in 2 parts, it is quite easy to manoeuvre them. And if you have to loosen up a couple of the bolts just to get them aligned, that's fine. Obviously make sure you tighten them back up again. So as you can see, the big part of the work is getting those brackets on, actually putting the final step on. once the brackets are aligned is no problem. So that's our step now on, okay? So we'll just take a look, take a step back so you can look at that there. So it is a pretty neat job the way the curves follow. You can use these with front mud flaps if you have front mud flaps fitted, and obviously then when you get into the car, what you'll note here is the fact that the step comes up really nice and close to the sill. So this area here that would normally get quite dirty is protected a lot. So as you get in and out of the car, it's pretty clean. Now the last job to do is to remove the plastic film. Now on some suppliers we've seen this tape is pretty hard to take off. Okay. But on this one it looks pretty good. It should come off fairly nicely. Just pull it away. If you're finding it's not coming off cleanly, then one thing you'll have to do is perhaps use a heat gun to gently soften the adhesive. Do you want to just pull that off, Kate? So just pull the tape off. Okay, as I mentioned though, do be careful of this front edge when you're fitting. Don't try and hammer or push too hard on that front face. So there we go, that's finished now. We got that off, Kate, thank you. Okay, so that's the finished job, all done, and obviously the other side is the same. So make sure all your bolts are tightened when you're finished, and check them periodically. Okay, good luck with that.